Hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Think Tank. I really wanted to weigh in on what happened with this passenger that was dragged off a plane. It's just there's a huge uproar, and United Airlines is getting most of the backlash about what happened here. And I disagree. I disagree because first of all, they have a legal right to remove a passenger for certain reasons. In his case, they didn't. So they violated their contract. So they are at fault in that context. They shouldn't have done that. But what happens is if they do something wrong, they can compensate you. So let's say this incident didn't happen, right? Let's say they told him he had to go and he refused to go. But then they really told him, you're holding up the plane, you have to go, we're right, you're wrong. And let's say finally, he was very angry and he said, I don't agree with this, but you're forcing me to go, and so I'll go, right? The worst that could happen is he's going to be compensated, or he might go to court, and we're looking at maybe hundreds of dollars, maybe $1,000, or maybe even less. Maybe they would have offered him more than what he'll get in court, right? And the case would have been forgotten shortly after. I mean, a lot of people get inconvenienced on planes. I mean, it happens all the time, I can tell you. I've been on planes. There's a lot of things that happen where you get inconvenienced. There's nothing that you can do about it. It just happens. Now, in this situation, the plane wasn't even overbooked, but it didn't matter anyway, like I said. However, it did matter because of the fact that he didn't fall in the criteria of something called the contract of carriage. He didn't fit this criteria, so they did violate his rights as a customer. He did pay for his ticket. He has a right to travel. The plane, as it turns out, was not overbooked. They actually needed some crew members to fly to Louisville to catch a connecting flight so they can be on that flight. So that's what happened here. Now, he didn't want to leave. They tried. They offered compensation. 2 people left, and him and his wife remained. Now, what happened is that they called the police because he didn't want to get off the plane. Now, the police came and they did something totally shocking. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean, this guy was nonviolent. He was quiet. He wasn't disruptive. The passengers were witnesses to that. They saw that. And it looked like they spoke with him for a short time. And then all of a sudden, I mean, he was physically pulled out of his seat. His head smashed against an armrest, and then just dragged out like a piece of garbage. And he wasn't even given medical attention after that. I mean, that was really crazy. Now, my question is, why are so many people, this is a very important question, why is there so much backlash against the airline? The way I see it, this was the police's fault. I mean, look how they handled that. And that's the problem here. Now, I can't say this against all the police, not all of them, but there's a real problem with the police culture in America. I mean, because you could look at it from the perspective of people that live outside the United States. They say, what's going on over there? I mean, these people are just militarized. They're heavily armed. They're bullies. They have a very short patience span with people. And, these are people that are taxpayers. They're paying their salaries. I mean, what's going on here to just act so quickly and just physically pull that man off? Keep in mind, and here's the important thing, these cops don't work for the airline. They're not employees of United Airlines. I mean, if a United Airline employee went to him and, physically dragged him off the plane, that's another story, but that's not what they did. They called the police. Now, what do the police do? What's their job? They have to look at all sides. They can't just take sides. And he was right. They were wrong. They should have just looked at the contract. You don't need to be an attorney for that. Even if they don't understand it, they say, look, we don't know whose side to take it. We don't know who's in the right or wrong. Let's negotiate. Let's sit down and negotiate this, right? Offer him something more. Offer another passenger more. And that's just it. That's how you settle this. You know why? Keep in mind, this is an economy flight, right? I mean, it looked like it. It was going from one state to another. I could tell by the aisle. There was no aisle seats. It looked like a smaller plane. Now, it was booked. There may have been around 200 people on there, okay? But keep in mind, it's not going cross-country. It's not going to an international destination. So it's likely there's not much food on that plane, all right? And keep in mind, the plane is not going that far. So it's not like passengers are going to be extremely inconvenienced. I heard they're not going to get a flight till the next day, but it's not like they're traveling an international flight, which could be difficult to rebook because of the distance that it's going. And of course, you know, the time difference, people really have to get to where they have to go on an international flight. And then you have, you know, customs issues and all kinds of stuff, passports, and it takes time. It's very time consuming. This was a short flight, okay? And if you're making passengers wait, as they're trying to negotiate with him, right? The cops probably say, look, let's sit down, let's have a drink, you know, maybe drink something, you'll think about it, maybe eat something. And if the police are busy, right, if they have more important things to take care of, they could just leave. They'll say, look, you know, we have to go, we'll come back later. And that's just it, that's how you solve it. Let me tell you something, on a domestic flight, if they're sitting there, time is ticking by, 20 minutes, a half hour, an hour, 2 hours. The pilot can get on the loudspeaker and he can say, we're offering a certain amount of money. If they decide, they can hire that amount of compensation. There are going to be people begging to get off that flight. And they can easily get those 2 seats that they needed, okay? I mean, this was totally mishandled by the police. And that's what I don't understand. Where's the backlash against the police? They're the ones that dragged him out of there, all right? Like I said, they have to look at all sides of the story, and they didn't. They didn't. Obviously, he was in the right contractually. They put one of them on administrative leave. If somebody assaulted like that, if somebody did that, I think even if one of their airline employees did it, he would probably be in jail. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, how could they get away with something like this? Just imagine how the conversation went. The airline, you know, picks up the phone and they say, look, we have a passenger who doesn't want to leave. And according to the contract, he has to go. Maybe I heard there were airline police, so maybe they have more of a knowledge of how that works. But when they show up, they actually have to look at all sides. I mean, how do you think the conversation went? I mean, the airline called the police, well, we want you to physically, you know, pull him out of his seat and drag him off the plane so we can go to our destination. No, that's not what they said. And even if they said it, the police are not supposed to listen to the airline. The police don't work for the airline. These are cops. They're supposed to actually be fair, all right? They have to look at all sides because he's a taxpayer, this guy. They have to protect his rights too. His rights were not protected. You don't just go and drag the guy off the plane like that. Are you crazy? Now, I have to tell you all this because just based on the video that I saw, I didn't see anything else. So I can't say 100% that the police are mainly at fault here. It's just based on what I saw in this video. It looks like so many passengers are pointing their cell phones about what happened. There's only one main video that shows most of what happened here. So it's really hard to say besides what else happened. I mean, one guy that was interviewed said that he flailed his hands, like he just went like this to the police or something. And also this guy, he's an immigrant and his English doesn't seem that good, so maybe he didn't understand what they were saying, or there's more to look at here. So I can't say 100% that most of the blame is with the police, but based on a lot of the evidence already here, you know, passengers that witnessed the event, it seems that that's the case. So time will tell. I would like to know what you think. Please leave your comments, please subscribe, please like this video, and thank you for tuning in.